When I was growing up, my neighbors a couple houses down the road had this vehicle that they just left outside all the time. Sometimes it was covered, sometimes it wasn't. I didn't really know what it was, but come to find out, it was a Land Cruiser FJ40. One of the most iconic Land Cruisers of all time, and still, even here, one of the most trusted 4x4 vehicles of all time. Many of you probably know the history of the Land Cruiser, but it's probably the most iconic and most trusted four-wheel drive vehicle of all time. In North America, truly doesn't see as many Land Cruisers as I wish we did, but across the globe, you see these everywhere. Well, I'm gonna give you a full detailed review like I do on any other vehicle and show you everything you get with this $90,000 Toyota Land Cruiser. I can't wait to show it to you. Let's get started. Now, to start right off the bat, I wanna talk about some of the things that make this Land Cruiser special. This is a body-on-frame SUV with a ladder frame, but it's shortened and strengthened by 20% over the Tundra. It has the KDSS suspension system, which is a mechanical system to disengage stabilizer bars to allow more independent movement and improve traction on uneven terrain. Not to forget the skid plates that we have on the underbody. We've got front suspension, radiator, fuel tank, and transfer case covered. And then some more components are even thicker and beefier than you'd expect. Like the windshield is thicker, beefed up suspension components, ball joints. The brake rotors are thicker than normal to prevent warping or water damage. When you're fording, extra thick exhaust components to prevent cracking as well. That's pretty sweet. The Land Cruiser is not just an overpriced vehicle. This is meant to last. Now let's go ahead and check out the rest of the exterior features. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in. Let's take a look at the exterior features and details of this Toyota Land Cruiser. So like I said, this is the Heritage Edition, and we get specific things to the Heritage Edition that I'll cover, including this grille. This grille is a little bit different. It's got black inserts with a dark chrome surround versus the more chrome-oriented regular grille on the Land Cruiser. And there is a camera right there. This does have the radar cruise control sensor as well. Then as we come over to the headlights, we've got LED high and low beams. There's an incandescent turn signal. We've got that nice accent lighting right up under the headlights. These headlights do a really nice job at night. I have a full night drive and review of these as well, if you want to check that out and you can see how they do. We also get an LED fog light down below. And one difference with this and the regular Land Cruiser is we've got a darker housing. That is one of the biggest things, and there's even a headlamp washer right there, which can actually be real helpful when you're off-roading. And right up front, we've got a couple tow hooks down below, pretty good approach angle as well. Just a pretty simple front end. One thing that I have really noticed and liked is just how beefy and brawny this hood is. So you can see those two bulges on each side, and when you're sitting behind the wheel, the hood looks massive. You just definitely feel like you're in a big SUV when you're driving this. This color is the Midnight Black Metallic, and when it's dirty, it just looks like plain black. But when it is clean, you've got some nice sparkle to it, and it's just a really dark color, but it does look nice on this Heritage Edition. Now the Land Cruiser is going to get 18-inch wheels no matter what, but the Heritage Edition gives us these bronze colored wheels. They're really interesting looking. They take a little bit to get used to. They do have a TRD badge as well. They're also BBS forged aluminum as well. And we've got two 85/60 series tires that are mud and snow steel belted tires. And one thing you'll notice is you've got mud flaps behind the front and the rear wheels. Those come standard on here. Now the Land Cruiser is expensive for reasons other than its features, but this does have the black mirrors here on this Heritage Edition with the dark chrome. It's got turn signals. Those are also power folding mirrors. They're heated, they have memory function and reverse tilting function, and they're even automatic dimming on both passenger and driver side. And as you can see right up above, you've got the Yakima Mega Warrior cargo basket. That is also exclusive to this Heritage Edition. Ours doesn't have any running boards, but the regular Land Cruiser will give you running boards standard. I'm honestly glad that we don't. And then you got this Toyota Land Cruiser badge up here, which I think that's pretty cool. It's just a vehicle this iconic definitely should have a badge like that. The Land Cruiser is 195 inches long. It's got 8.9 inches of ground clearance, which isn't quite where I was hoping it would be, but that's honestly still not bad. And it's going to get you through a lot of areas. And then as we come around to the back, the taillights are pretty interesting. They're really large. First of all, you've got incandescent turn signals, but you do have some LED portions here. The stop lights, some interesting light piping as well, and they look pretty cool at night to top it off. This bumper back here also has just one exhaust outlet. Of course, you can tow with it. You've got the spare tire mounted underneath, which is full size, V8 badge, and parking sensors here and in the front. With the Land Cruiser being built to not be obsolete in the future, we don't have the fancy foot activated liftgate, but we've got this pretty cool tailgate. This is still a power liftgate with the key fob or from inside or a touchpad, but you can even turn the power function off if you want and just make it manual. And the thing about the Heritage Edition is we lose the third row seats. Typically you'll get fold up third row seats, but we lose that. So we got over 50 cubic feet behind the second row and over 80 cubic feet when you get that second row out of the way of cargo space. Now to give you a closer look at the cargo area, you do have a grab handle right there. You can push that button to lower it. You've got LED lights for your license plate, and this is the touchpad to open it up. And then here's that little tailgate thing. You can pull that, and then it will slowly lower down for you, and you can sit on that, whatever you want to do. And one cool function is that you've got a little tiny storage bin over here to strap something down. And this other side actually has your jack kit and a couple extra tools in there. And now back here, you've got that tonneau cover, that cargo cover that can come stretch all the way up here. You've got a little hook like this on each side. It's nice to see a 3-prong 120 volt power outlet. And then there's a couple little storage cubbies up above there. We also have a couple of metal tie downs on each side and a little further up. And at night there is some lighting back here from that light right there, so no actual lights in the cargo area and nothing up pointing down from the lift gate, but you have that one in the middle. Now the interesting thing, to fold the seats, there's nothing to fold them from the back. You can't grab right here. It'd be nice to see maybe some kind of a handle, not necessarily a power button, but something that could work. But you pull this, and then you can have them just fold flat, or you can lift them up out of the way like that. And then you do get quite a bit of space, quite a bit of extra flat space going up to those seats in the back area. Toyota gives you the smart key system on every single door. You can see you can open up your tailgate with this as well. I've tried the 3-lock remote start option, but it hasn't worked. So I don't know if this doesn't actually have it or what, but it should. The actual key fob is kind of cool. Take a look at this. Land Cruiser on the back, even a tire track. You can take a physical key out, and the way that their system works is you've got the sensor in the back and you can touch those lines to lock it. Easy as that. The seating options for the Land Cruiser are really simple. You get 10-way power adjustable seats that are leather with 2-way lumbar support. The seats come heated and ventilated, and they do a really nice job and even have an automatic function. And our Heritage Edition gives us some bronze stitching and some piping on these seats, which is pretty cool. Overall, I think these seats are comfortable. I've been comfortable in here the whole time. There's nothing special. There's no big bolstering. It's just the right amount of cushion and bolstering, and the shaping of the seat is probably my favorite. And one bonus is we have the entry-exit system. So you got a power steering wheel. The steering wheel can move to you. It's also a heated and leather-wrapped steering wheel as well. And the power adjustment does have a pretty good amount of range as well for tilt and telescoping. I'm 5'9". I've got the seat pretty low right now, but I've still got some decent headroom. Obviously, I'm not tall, but I'm a little nervous for people that are tall on just how much headroom they would have in here. But shoulder room is pretty good, hip room is pretty good, comfortable for a person my size. The interior of the Land Cruiser, although it's a $90,000 vehicle, it is still fairly utilitarian, and that is intentional. Now let me give you a quick look at all these features on the inside and the off-road controls. So this upper portion is kind of soft. It's not padded, but you can rest your arm up there without a hard plastic thing. Got this trim piece with the memory settings in the door. This is nice and padded for your elbow. This is nice and padded for your elbow, and a good sized armrest. I really like this grab handle. I love how Toyota uses a grab handle. There's a rubber lining behind it as well. It's just real solid. And unlike the new RAV4 where I complained how the handle's too far forward, this one's in a perfect spot. Every single window is one-touch automatic. Got a nice large grab handle, except this backside, kind of where it meets this trim piece right here, there's just like a plastic lip, which is kind of annoying. I just like to see one big solid metal handle. And down below, you've got some decent storage right here. Test out the new water bottle, and it fits. About the same size as that old one. It's good for me. So right on the inside, you get some good stuff. You've got your headlamp washers, parking sonar, automatic high beams to turn those off or on, and you can choose whether you have your mirrors power fold. And your mirror controls over there. Right up above that, you've got your interior lighting and to scroll through your trip. And then as we shut the door, it does have a good thunk, but it does kind of have a hollow sound. And the outside of the door actually does sound pretty hollow. There's a nice grab handle when you climb in here as well, which is nice. The steering wheel is heated and leather wrapped. You've got some wood trim on the bottom and up on the top, but I like the 4-spoke design where you can put your hand in the middle or still have it in the corners. There's no bulky grip or anything, but you have this bronze stitching on the inside for our Heritage Edition. On the left, we have voice controls and your radio controls. Then on the right, you've got information controls and your radar cruise control stock, distance for radar cruise, and your lane departure system. Push button start is nice and easy right in front of you. And you hear that V8 start to rumble, and you've got a really nice brawny look over that beefy hood. And Toyota gives you physical gauges still, which is good to see on a Land Cruiser. You do have an information display in the middle. Although it is a small information display, there's still a fair amount of information on here. And that 11.2 miles per gallon, I was probably getting about 12 with almost entirely city driving. And I was not feathering the gas or anything, so definitely not efficient, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. You can use your steering wheel controls to scroll through some more information here. It's nice, you can see the direction of the front wheels. Tire pressure monitoring, even for the one in the back, which it was registering earlier. It probably takes a second to register. You can see your navigation, compass, music, your lane keeping and road or radar cruise settings right there. Any maintenance messages, and then you can customize a couple things here as well, like your blind spot indicator. One nice feature that I always appreciate is the auto function for the rain sensing windshield wipers, or you can have them on your own setting, and that could actually be really handy when you're off-roading if you get some mud on the windshield, for them to automatically kick in, so you don't have to be reaching for the stock if you're off-roading and getting some mud on your windshield. And I experienced that in the 4Runner when I went through a big puddle, and I had to reach for those wipers pretty quick. Now as we move over to the center stack, we got a couple large vents on the outside, and this is actually a very advanced heating and HVAC system. It heats and cools very quickly. Right in the middle, you get a large 9-inch touchscreen, and as you can see, this is Toyota's old system. This is definitely dated looking. There's nothing really special about this. You do have some physical controls down here, which is good to see. You still have some different, there's a lot that you can still see on here. It's just dated, and you can customize the way things are, different settings and all of that. One thing about it is we have a CD player, which I'll show you in a second, HD radio, Sirius XM navigation, and we have a 14-speaker JBL sound system right here. There's no Apple CarPlay or Android Auto if that's something that you wanted to see. And you've got a clock that's permanent right there, the temperature as well. The CD player is right below that. We technically have 4-zone climate control, dual zone up here. You've got climate control in the rear as well, automatic function of course as well, and then even more radio controls down here. You've got your volume knob, tuning knob, and there's some lighting that actually goes around here at night, which is kind of cool. This is just for your map SD card. And then let's go back up to the screen. We've got this button right here to view your surround view camera or your bird's eye view camera. So you can have it automatically come on. You can turn it on when you want, have it go on in reverse. You can see your trajectory for the vehicle over there. You can see in front of the vehicle, behind the vehicle, kind of however you want. And when I put it in reverse, as you can see, we've got dynamic lines. You can see just like that. So that's pretty cool. And I just put it in 4 low, and then you get the multi-terrain monitor where you can have this automatically come on as well. You can even see the angle of your vehicle right there, the side view cameras as well. So this is pretty cool. I really like how you can see pretty well around your vehicle, especially when you're off-roading. A couple more buttons right below the camera button. We have the forward collision button right there. You can even turn off the power function for your rear door and open your rear door. And even though this center stack isn't fancy or anything, I like how there's this soft material on both sides. Gives it a little bit more of a luxury touch, and if your knee runs over there to touch it. Otherwise, everything is pretty utilitarian. Right up front, we have a 12-volt power outlet. And this area right here is a storage bin, or you can use it as a wireless charging mat. And my phone fits in there pretty well. You can turn that off or on with this button right here. Then we have our controls for our heated steering wheel, ventilated and heated seats that have an automatic function or 3-tier for you and your passenger. one USB port and an auxiliary port. So there's no paddle shifters, but you do have a manual control option with the sport mode over here if you want to manually shift. This is a full-time four-wheel drive system, but you do have a low range as well, which is what you need for that multi-terrain monitor. So right behind that, you've got your crawl control and multi-terrain select. Let's go ahead and scroll through those. Right on your information display, first we've got mud and sand, then you've got loose rock, mogul, if you kind of have those V-shaped ditches, and then rock and dirt, and then rock. You have to be in the low range in order to activate this. And then we have the crawl control, same dial as the multi-terrain select. You have to be in gear. Go ahead and push that button, and then you're able to control your speed with this. If you're going up a steep surface and you just want to focus on steering, the vehicle will maintain whatever speed you select here. So all you have to do is steer. And then a function that goes with that is off-road turn assist, which actually helps to basically give you a tighter turning radius in conjunction with the use of the crawl control. Then we have a couple more buttons. Electronically controlled transmission, this power button is kind of like a sport mode. It helps to keep the RPMs higher for different shift points. ECT second is to start off in second gear to have lower torque to avoid wheel slippage, icy conditions, real slippery dirt conditions. Turn your traction control, vehicle stability control off here, and then you can lock your center differential. So it's pretty cool how many features you have right there, which is awesome. And you've got a mechanical e-brake, just a nice handbrake, which is always good to see in an off-road vehicle. These cup holders are cool. My bottle fits easily. Small bottles do as well, because you can move each little arm into the appropriate position or cover it if you want. My only complaint here is that there's not really a good storage area. There's that little area. You can put stuff in a cup holder or on your seat, but I'd like to see like a storage pocket, but you've got a lot going on right here. Now this armrest is fantastic. You've got that same kind of stitching right here. It is soft. It's not necessarily super thick and padded, but it's got a nice material on it. And there's 3 layers. So first, we've got a thin one. Then we can open that up and we've got this little movable tray. Get that out of the way. And then you got just a massive bin. And in the regular Land Cruiser, you get an ice box or a cooler box inside of here to keep your drinks cold. The only thing I'd like to see in there is some lighting. There's no lighting, and maybe a charging port. Nice thing is Toyota gives you a lock and glove box with a light inside. There's another grab handle over there. We have a sunglass holder. We have LED lighting up here with actual physical buttons, which is always good to see. Then there's still a standard size moonroof. Visors have vanity lights and mirrors. And then we have an automatic dimming rearview mirror with garage controls. And it's nice to have this be automatic dimming and both side mirrors automatic dimming. And they have a reverse tilt function as well. At night, this does have a little bit of ambient lighting, and there's quite a bit of nice bluish backlighting for all of the buttons, especially the off-road controls, so you can still see what you're doing at night. The door panels even have a little bit of lighting, accent lighting, that covers them up too. Now hopping into the back seat, we've got some nice stuff as well. The same exact materials as you get in the front, padded, nice rubber grab handle, automatic one-touch window. My bottle even fits down there, but it is a tight fit. And then sitting behind myself, 5'9", I've got good knee space. This seat is low to the floor, so I don't have a lot of foot space, but there's a little stretchy pocket on both driver and passenger side, but space is still good. There's a grab handle to get in back here. You have HVAC vents up on the ceiling for each passenger. You've got a grab handle and a hook. And even though you have those vents on the ceiling, you have these vents behind the center console, which is nice. So the AC system in here is fantastic. Heating and AC is great. And then you've got your own climate controls here, and each passenger can control their own temp, which is really unusual for back seats, especially in a Toyota. But this is an expensive vehicle. You've got heated seats, high and low function on both sides as well. And then there's a 12-volt power outlet down below. You have LED lighting up here with your own individual side LED lighting. There's not really even a hump in the middle, so you can easily have a person sit in the middle and store some stuff flat here. Then you've got a fold down center armrest, little plastic storage area. This is nice and soft. Open it up and you've got another little tiny storage area. And then the drink holders back here are right there. Not a big fan of this style, but it works. And then I've still got really good headroom right here, which is nice. And not only can these seats slide forward and backwards, you can also recline in these seats as well. The powertrain for the Land Cruiser, at least in North America, there's just one option. It's the venerable 5.7 liter V8 naturally aspirated engine. There's truly only one con to this engine, and it is not power. Power output is good at 381 horsepower, 401 pound-feet of torque, and that torque does come out fairly early paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission. This is a full-time four-wheel drive vehicle with the low range that I showed you and its off-road controls. It can tow 8,100 pounds, which is really good, and it has a torsion limited slip center differential. Now the one con is the efficiency, but there's some pros to that as well that I'll cover. So 13 miles per gallon city, 17 miles per gallon highway. But the biggest thing about this, I love that it's a V8. It's got a great sound. It'd be nice to see some other options in the North American market. I know there's a diesel engine out there as well, but we don't get it. But we don't have cylinder deactivation like modern engines. We don't have the auto stop start system like many modern engines. It's not direct injected either, so you don't have to worry about those things and the complexities that come with that. It's just a simple V8. Now let's go ahead and get it on the road and see how it drives and how it sounds. All right, everyone, we are on the test drive. Now, we're gonna start out with just kind of some city driving. I'm gonna tell you how it drives, give it some acceleration, ride comfort, handling, all that good stuff, how quiet it is. I can't go off-road. There's nowhere I can go off-road anywhere near me. That's legal anyways. So if you live in the East DFW area and you have some areas that you can go, please let me know. Now right off the bat, my first impression of the Land Cruiser is that it's just smooth. It's a very smooth vehicle to drive. It's really easy to drive. The throttle input is good. It's of course not car-like, but for an SUV that's this big and this capable, body on frame, it's just really smooth. The braking on here is also pretty good. It's got a nice feel to it. It's actually a little touchy, but one thing that I've noticed is with braking and takeoff, you definitely get a lot of squat and dive and some body lean, but that's expected. The suspension system is supposed to help prevent some of that in body lean, but it's still not that good. And now on this road that it is pavement, it's concrete. It's got quite a few broken pieces of pavement and uneven pieces. And the Land Cruiser just soaks everything up so well. Part of that is probably just the wheels that we have. We have big, or tires I mean. We don't have massive wheels, so you've got a lot of tire to absorb a lot of impact. The suspension just soaks things up. It's not like super car-like, but it's really soft and smooth, and I really like it, especially for a vehicle this capable off-road. Another thing is just the tall ride. So I've got the seat pretty low. I like to sit with my seat lower, but I like the tall ride. You've got a big, beefy hood. You've got good visibility everywhere. Out the back, the windows are pretty big as well, so you can still see fairly decent. This is full-time four-wheel drive. Let's go ahead and get on it. And that just sounds good. That sounds pretty. That's a V8 right there. And so far, this 8-speed with this 5.7 has been smooth. And I have not noticed hardly any odd behavior at all with this suspension or this transmission. It is a learning transmission as well. I'm not sure how it compares to the 8-speed in the other Toyota products, but at low speed, some of you have noted some like clunking and things like that, hard shifts in those other vehicles, and I have not noticed that in the Land Cruiser. The one thing though is the turning. There is a fair amount of body lean. I mean, you could definitely roll this thing over if you are really pushing it and hustling, but the power is great. So a lot of you, this is probably going to be sufficient. And I'm sure most of you aren't going to be overlanding with this thing, but city driving, power is great. Economy stinks, but it's not what this is about. Not at all what this is about. And you can still feel fairly confident handling this. It's just big and tall, so you got to be careful with that. But the steering input is not too bad. It's got some play in it, but it's more responsive than for say that GX that I was recently in. And one thing about it, this has TSSP, Toyota Safety Sense, but it doesn't have the lane keeping system. It has lane departure alert. So if I go ahead and veer out of my lane, it just beeps. It lets you know, and you can easily turn that off. The radar cruise control has worked well though. That's always nice. And from a roll and go right here, if we go ahead and get on it, that was quick to downshift. Sounds fantastic too. I love the V8. Now those of you that have driven other market Land Cruisers with different engines, comment below. I'd like to know what you think of those. Now this road is really pretty rough. It's got a lot of dips and dives and harsh pieces of pavement, and man, this this Land Cruiser is just floating above everything. But the thing about it, it doesn't feel floaty, like bouncy, like you can easily lose control. It's just smooth. It just coasts right over everything. Now in a second, I'm gonna get on the loud textured road so you can kind of get a feel for road noise. And I'll show you something a little interesting that I found interesting, but I'll tell you exactly why. We don't have laminated glass here, and I'll tell you in a second. Just getting on some gravel. Now that was just a super small stretch of gravel, but there was no vibration. I didn't hardly even know I was on gravel. And one thing I've noticed, you can probably hear that now, even on a smooth road, at higher speeds, that roof rack really creates a lot of wind noise. So if that's a bother to you, you can of course remove that, and that's the Heritage Edition roof rack. But low speeds, you don't hear that at all, and you don't really hear hardly any wind noise on these windows. And these windows aren't laminated, but they are thick glass. The windshield is still thick. But if you are in a rollover, or if you get stuck off-road or something and you need to break the glass, if it's acoustic laminated, that's a lot harder to do. But like this, you could use your tool and break the glass and get out pretty easily. And I would guess that that's intentional by Toyota. Now we are getting on the louder textured road. And there's hardly any road noise, especially considering the tires that we have, the off-road capability of this. It may not seem super quiet with your perceived listening here, but my decibel ratings were quiet, and I was very impressed, especially on a rough texture. Now on the interstate, the wind speed is noticeable. It's not necessarily like loud, obnoxious, but you notice it, you hear it. And it doesn't necessarily take away from being able to converse with people in the cabin. So I'm very impressed with the quietness of this vehicle, but it should be for how expensive it is. And overall, with daily living with this, everything is easy to use. I could see how some people would complain about the outdatedness, of course, but this is not the vehicle for you if that's the case. If you want off-road capability and high tech, that's Land Rover. That's where you go for that. This 200 series Land Cruiser is built to last, built to be simple, but still somewhat appeal to the North American market, which is really picky. And I'm just getting on another little stretch of gravel here, and that's really all I can do for you guys is just gravel roads. I apologize for that. There are some washboards on here that I noticed in other vehicles, but dang, not hardly feeling a thing out here. And at one point, before I was really able to do some of this car stuff, this whole area back here, you could kind of get a little dirty, but it is taken over by developments now, and everything is going away, even my dirt roads. So overall, what do you think of the Land Cruiser? I'd love to know your thoughts. There's off-road videos all over the place. I'm sorry that I can't necessarily do that. I was able to take the 4Runner off-road from Toyota one time, so please be sure to check that video out. So to wrap things up with the 2020 Toyota Land Cruiser Heritage Edition, honestly, this is the first time I've ever been in a Land Cruiser, and I've always had an interest in them ever since I found out what my neighbors had and exactly just how much value they retain and the history that they have. Planned obsolescence is all too common nowadays, but not with Toyota and the Land Cruiser. Toyota has to make this thing somewhat fit the North American market, where people are looking for luxury features, which you get some of that in here, but it's not overcomplicated and overdone to make it obsolete in the future. I still believe this 200 series Land Cruiser is going to last a long time, just like those other Land Cruisers, and still be worth a lot of money in the future. Let me know what you think of the Land Cruiser down below. Be sure to watch some of these other videos. Check out the night video of this and subscribe for weekly videos. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching.